Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you today. I hope you had a good week. My name is Jonan Kandwanaho, and I'm the CEO and founder at Jonaki Holdings Limited. And at Jonaki Holdings Limited, we give money. We offer credit, we offer financial relief. So if you need money, we are here to serve you. You can always check us out at www.jonakiholdings.com. And you can also check us out on YouTube. So we look forward to serving you. So today's discussion is quite an interesting one, because many a time we want to first get at the top, or we want to first acquire that amount of money that we want, or want to first get at a particular level, or want to first acquire a particular loan, then we can start thinking of starting a business. So today I want to speak to us about starting money lending as a business at whichever level you're at. For those who have been following me on part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4, you saw the journey, or you watched the journey that I've gone through. You saw what it is that we've done to reach the level we are at now. We didn't start at the top. We started with actually less money where we were at. So you don't have to first reach a particular level or reach a particular amount of money, and then you start thinking of, starting lending. As I shared in the first part, you must have lent money at any level, whether to a friend or relative or colleague or whoever, but somehow, somewhere, you have ever lent money. The only difference between you and us is that we lend at an interest rate or at a profit. For you lend, perhaps interest free. But the likelihood of even our recovery might even be higher than you has lent free of charge. You might find it hard to recover that money than even us who lend at interest, because we have clear stipulated systems that we go through. And we know that in this lending, there's a likelihood of the person defaulting. Perhaps for you, if you're lending to a friend, you think, I know this guy too much, and I think he cannot defraud, he cannot default, which is a total lie. And to some, you must have had an experience, and you've confirmed by yourself that it's not true. As a matter of fact, you could have lost your friendship because of lending, even at zero interest. So what matters is not the lending, but at what rate are you lending at, but also what terms are you lending at, but also is there a clarity between you, the lender, and the recipient, that this money has to be paid back at a certain point or at a particular period of time, and it has to be paid back with interest. And that's what makes a big difference. A big difference. So if you're waiting to accumulate 100 million or 1 billion or 500 million to start lending as a business, there are some things that you're going to encounter that might be very costly, to the extent that they might actually knock you out of business. For example, if you started with a capital of 500 million, the likelihood of the losses you're going to undergo are going to be different with the person who starts with 10 million. Because the person who starts with 10 million can only lose as much. Because as a matter of fact, if you've been following all the talks that I've been having, is that it's not plausible or it's not advisable that you lend all the 10 million to one person. So meaning that this guy of the 10 million is going to disburse the 10 million to 10 clients, each getting 1 million. So the likelihood of all the 10 clients defaulting on this guy is very low. So let's take a fraction, let's say 20% of those people default. So that's 2 million of the 10 million. Meaning that the 8 people who have the 8 million will actually pay back with interest. So if this guy is lending at 10% at 8 million, the guy is looking at about perhaps 800,000. And for you, and then the default rate is maybe 2%, which is 2 million. At 10%, that's about maybe 200,000. Actually, 200,000. So you can imagine if you're starting with a capital of 100 million, You've not been exposed to the business before. The exposure is too much, especially if you've not acquainted yourself, if you've not learned. If you've not learned, if you don't have anyone who is walking the journey with you, who is mentoring you, we have a notion of, because I've got a deal of 100 million, what is the most trending business? What is the most profitable business? Money lending, as advised by a friend. And alas, you go in full swing. You want to start lending money because you've gotten a deal, or you've closed a deal of 100 million. Now, if you compare with the 10 million, now you're lending out, and the exposure is, let's say, 2% are going to default. But you see, if you have 100 million, it comes easy. You can even afford to give 50 million to one person with the notion that, let me give to one particular person. If he pays back, you start computing the interest before you even know how you're going to collect the money, plus the interest. So you lend, even if you lend with the same exposure or the same risk like the person of 10 million, at 100 million, you're losing 20 million. You're losing 20 million in case the guy's default. And if you got the interest for the other money of the 80 million, that's about 8 million. But you see, the amount of money that you're talking about is too much. If you've lent 20 million to one person, the likelihood of that person paying, or having a person who has that cash flow to pay back the 20 million plus the interest of 2 million is not as much. Very few businesses are very profitable, even after COVID. So giving a business or a person a loan of 50 million or even 20 million, when you're just a starter, when your systems have a lot of loopholes and gaps, the likelihood of being paid back is very low. Compared to the guy of 10 million who lent out the 2 million, perhaps 1 million to 10 clients. So what I'm trying to put forward is that it's good to appreciate the system and grow organically. We have the interest of growing very fast and in a very short period of time. And it's a big challenge, especially to us, the youth of the 21st century. You want to accumulate 1 billion in just 6 months. It's impossible. It's literally impossible. It's like pressing blood from something that does not have it. It's like milking a cow that has the capacity to give you 5 liters, and you want it to give you 10 liters. That's how others end up defrauding. And that's how this business of money lending has actually been, has had a bad name. Why? Because there are entrants that come and he wants the returns 50 million from the 10 million in a period of 6 months. It is literally impossible. It is literally impossible. You're going to defraud on people. You don't know how the things are going to turn out to be. So it's important that you start with small money, get the experience, get acquainted with the journey, and then you can actually scale up to reach the level where you intend to reach. And that's why I chose the title of starting money lending at any level. The moment the income that you realize from the money you've lent out can meet the preliminary costs, the basic costs, covering the rent, the salaries of the staff, the utilities, then you should be able to start. Because there are some lessons you're going to learn that are going to cost you less money just because you don't have the money. And yet they would have costed you a lot of money had you had the money. So whether you're getting the money from a loan or you're borrowing money, which I don't advise if you're just a starter, whether you're getting money from relatives, whether you're getting money from somewhere, irrespective of the amount, it's important that you start with the amount that is a little smaller, test out the industry, see how it rolls out before you scale up. There's nothing that beats organic growth. If you want to reach higher heights, it's important that you grow your business organically. Especially for money lending, the risks that you're going to face if you have a lot of money, if you're starting with a lot of money with no experience, is going to be very, very high than the risk you can stand if you're starting with small money. If you've taken a chance to watch some of the videos, we started with about 400,000. And gradually, it has grown to the level we are at, of having even 2 branches, of having the ability to lend out even up to 50 million. And the 50 million was reduced because there were high exposures and risks. And as per the advice from the mentor, we had to scale down. But you see, we didn't start at this level. It was a gradual growth. The challenge we have in this 21st century, you want to have 10 million, and you want this 10 million to give you 100 million in 6 months. It is literally impossible. That's what has actually caused the name of money lending to be tainted bad. To tell us that we are crooks, we are thieves, just because there are some guys that want to make 10 million, give them 100 million in a period of 4 months. What you're going to end up doing is stealing. Someone is going to commit to you a collateral that is way valuable than the amount you've given them. They actually have not even failed to pay back, but you want to foreclose on their property. And yet they are willing to pay back. And even the period is still running. And that actually explains why some of the people lose their lives. Because you can imagine if a person has taken 30 years to have this property, and because he's in a fix of wanting money, because he's in a fix of wanting to scale up his business, because he's in a fix of perhaps having an emergency, you take advantage of such a situation and you give this guy money. And because you're at an edge or you're at an advantage, or you have the money, the liquidity, you take this guy's collateral. You even transfer the title to your names, which is contrary to the law. Because according to the Moneylenders Act of 2016 and the Money Lending Regulations of 2018, it is not advisable that the client transfers the title to your names or to the names of the company. So ideally, you're meant to follow the procedures. You're meant to follow the law and lend this person according to the law. But because you want the 10 million to give you 100 million in 6 months, you start taking advantage of the clients. One, you're causing the name, or you're tainting the name of the money lender or the money lending industry. And then 2, you stand a risk of getting out of business in a short time. Worst case scenario, 3, is that you could even lose your life, because you've literally ended the life of this guy. He has worked for this property for the period of 30 years. And now you're taking it, even when he still has the ability to pay back, and even is still willing, is open to a discussion. So why would you expose yourself to that extent just because you want to make the 10 million, give you 100 million? And yet you can take a stepwise, slow process, grow your business, build great clientele, and then you can even sustainably run the business and grow it to the extent that it should actually run, or it should even go beyond you. That even when you retire, when you age, someone else should be able to take on the business in your absentia. So I urge whoever listens in, I urge whoever has a strategic mind to look at it long range, to look at it long term. Don't look at it myopically. Don't look at it 6 months. Don't look at it 3 months. Look at it 10 years, 15 years, 30 years from now. Look at it 50 years. Look at it at a time past you. And it should be the same mindset that we should use to establish some of our businesses. It could be money lending, or it could even be any other business. Approach that with a mind of, something should run beyond me. And this will actually hinder you, or it will stop you from misbehaving, from doing contrary to what the law says. Because why you do contrary to what the law says is because you want to accumulate very fast. Where are you headed? Why do you want to grow in just 2 months or 3 months at the expense of a person who has grown his capital, who has grown his asset, who has bought his asset or worked towards acquiring the asset after 30 years? And for you want to have it in 6 months or 3 months. So that kind of speed might cost you hugely. It might cost you immensely. And that's why I've come to speak to you today with the title that starting money lending at the level you're at, or at any level. And this could even spill over to any business. You start at that level. And you'll come to appreciate the stepwise growth. You'll come to appreciate a step-by-step growth. You'll come to appreciate the organic growth. You'll come to appreciate some of the mistakes when you're still at a low level. There are some mistakes that are very costly when your net worth is 1 billion shillings that wouldn't be costly when your net worth is 100 million. There are some mistakes that are not going to be very, very costly if your net worth is of your business is 5 million, and yet they would have been very, very costly if your net worth was 500 million. So you come to appreciate and bridge the gaps gradually as you grow, stepwise, as you grow, stepwise. And then there are some mistakes that you're meant to close at that particular level. If I'm at a level of 10 million and I have a person, as I've always emphasized, I have a person that is mentoring me in that journey, I learn from the experience, which might be costly, even if it's a small fee that I have to pay. You pay that fee, you get someone to get you through that process. So meaning that as you grow from the 10 million to 20 million, you're bridging some gaps. As you're growing from 30 million to 40 million, you're bridging some gaps. So by the time you clock 100 million, there are some gaps that you've fully bridged. So the scale up comes easy, and your level of growth has a trend that even if Jonan comes to invest with you, I can see a trend of growth. If you come to convince me to capitalize your business, I'll be seeing a trend. But some of us have the trends that are not explained. You started with a business with 2 million. By the time you realize, after 3 months or 4, you have a net worth of 100 million. What explains the trend? So what guarantee will I have? Because the forward trend could even explain the backward trend. Who knows, the 100 million accumulated could go back trend, back to 0 million or 1 million. So that also informs the potential of investment. It convinces the potential investors to invest with you or not. There has to be a trend. Guys, if you have a trend that cannot be explained organically, it is a very weak and it's a matter of time that curve might get downwards. Not that we don't appreciate steep growth, not that we don't appreciate straight growth, not that we don't appreciate huge, immense growth. No, but there has to be an explainable trend. If you want to acquire money, if you want to have a trend that is unexplainable, it is a matter of time before you get out of business. So my urge to you is that start wherever you're at. If you have 10 million that you want to start with, so long as it can cover the basics. As I told you in my journey, one of the topics was formalizing. If the few expenses that you have, right away from rent to paying staff salary to paying utilities, if the profits that you're accumulating can actually service that and you can pay yourself, then you get started. Because there are some things you're going to learn at that level that will be very, very costly if you're going to learn them when you've reached a higher level, or if you've accumulated a lot of money, or if you've acquired a block of money from a bank or from a colleague or from a family. Or else you're going to have issues with the people you've gotten money from, because at that level you'll be hit hard. And I gave an example that if I have a net worth of 10 million as a business, and it's what I'm starting with for lending, I'll try to disperse at an average of 1 million per client or 2 million per client. Now, versus a person who has acquired a loan or gotten money from somewhere, 100 million, he wants to start with that. Even if you're to disperse, if you have a net worth of 100 million, you can even go for deals of 30 million or 20 or 40. And the likelihood of the client paying the 40 million with the interest is very, very minimal versus the 1 million. So meaning that you're very, very likely to recover the money at a small scale, or the money you disbursed when it was still very low, than the likelihood of huge monies. So, and also you could have sat on the idea, why I'm emphasizing this very topic of starting where you're at. You could have had this idea for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, and you've been sleeping on it. This business is very profitable, I have to be honest with you. And just like the hospitals, money lending, if someone needs money, he'll look for you. Whether your office is in Kololo or Naguru, whether it is in Katanga or Waise, someone will look for you. The only difference is that there are some premium clients that might not access you, that might not come to you because of the location you're at. But given the level you're at, you can still serve the clients at that locality. So as you scale up, you can actually change the address. It's a gradual growth. So also, if you have an office in Kololo, you'll attract those clients. And if you don't have the capital to service such category of clients, it's a matter of time you'll be out of business. In any case, you'll not be in business from the word go. Because the clients you're going to attract at that level are clients of 100 million or 300 million in Kololo. And if you have capital of 10 million, what are you doing there? Why don't you move to the area where you can attract the clients of that level, and then as you grow, you can actually step up to the locality that can weigh to that net worth. So you could have been having that idea for the last 5 years or 10 years or 3 years, and you're waiting for the heavens to open, and I pray that they open, and you get this block figure of money, and then you start doing business. I am also waiting for that time. I pray for you. I'm believing for you. When you acquire that money, I don't know when, but my argument is start where you're at. The only key thing you have to note is that the profits that you realize from the money you're lending out should be able to pay your rent, should be able to pay your utilities, and should be able to give you some money to thrive on. So if for example, you're starting with 10 million and you're lending at 10%, then you should be able, from the 10 million to acquire the 1 million. So the 1 million should be able to suffice in paying your rent and other utilities. What I defy is to consume your principal money to pay your expenses, because then you'll not be in business. Do not consume your principal money to cover your monthly or operational expenses. The interest that you accumulate or that you get from the amount of money that you've started with should be able to cover up the expenses as well as allow the business to run. Allow the business to run. Because in starting the level you're at, you come to appreciate the trend, you come to appreciate the growth, and you can actually have the audacity to ask for financials. Just like we started. Time is going to come when the demand for money is a curve, it's a growth curve, is increasing. Just like the hospital, if someone wakes up in the morning and he needs the money to finance a particular project, or he needs the money to buy a particular thing, or he needs the money to go to the hospital, he's sick, or he needs the money to travel. He has everything set, but he wants a per diem. He will definitely come and look for you. Even if you're in Y, he will look for you. All he needs is not your location, is not your fancy office. All he needs is money. So time is going to come, and the demand, actually very likely, and the demand for money is way higher than the amount of money that you have in your coffer. That's when you start thinking, how can I get cheap money so that I can bridge the gap? How can I get cheap money at 1% per month and perhaps lend out at 10% or 5% per month? And also in lending out, you should ask yourself, there are some guys who want to start business and start at it in a lucrative way or in a defrauding way. You want to start lending at 50% per month. Honestly speaking, put your shoes in this person you're giving the money. Where is this person going to invest the money to have returns of 50% per month? Because you need to first ask yourself, this guy should be able to pay me. He should have the ability to pay me. But also, because I'm in a fix, I'll tell you that, you know what? I'll be able to give you the principal money and the interest at 50% per month. Some guys will tell you that. Why? Because they're in a fix. They need the money. Perhaps he has someone in the hospital. He's in the ICU. All he needs is money. The rest, you'll work it out along the way. You say, I'll pay you 50%. But in the heart of hearts, where do you expect this guy to get this money? 50% return on investment per month. It is abnormal. So it's important that as you start with a minimum amount of money, minimize the risks or the likelihood of the clients defaulting on you or defaulting on you. Put a realistic interest rate that will be able to enable clients to service their loans, establish a relationship so that they can actually refer you. I've always told you that our businesses, especially money lending, thrives from the word of mouth. We thrive from the word of mouth. Because you've established the relationship with the client, because they've paid properly, because you've given them a moderate interest rate, they are able to pay, and you actually have a rapport and a relationship. So they have the audacity to actually refer you to several other clients. And that's how you experience growth. That's how you experience growth. So as you start, don't look at a huge interest rate. Don't look at growing in just 6 months to reach the top. Let it be a gradual organic growth. And that's why, and that's when you're going to appreciate money lending as a business. That's when you're going to appreciate the steady growth. That's when you're going to appreciate the organic growth. That's when you're going to appreciate the stepwise growth. So that's a word I have for you today. Start wherever you're at, so long as the profits that you make from that can actually service your operational expenses and can actually pay you. Because you're not a matter. You're in this business for profit. You're not a matter. You're in this business for income. So you need profits. You need to grow. You need to put on. You need to eat. You need to feed your family. So long as the money that you get, the profit that you get can actually help you thrive, and you can grow your business, and so be it. Start, learn gradually with the trend and the curve, appreciate the process, bridge the gaps, hit knocks here and there, engage a mentor who has grown in your business you're in. There's someone who is already doing better than you at, who is way ahead of you. Engage them, even if it's costly or there's some fee that you have to pay it. You'll come to appreciate later. You'll come to appreciate this word later, because some of the mistakes are costly to the extent that they can actually get you out of business. So walk that journey gradually, mpola mpola, and then you can actually get at the top. As I've already said, I'll stop it at this, and I pray that you start. There are some things that you not learn until you start. You read books, you watch videos, you watch everything. What can I say? But eventually, you will not learn until some of the things you've experienced them hands-on. So I urge you to start at the level you're at, grow gradually, get knocked here and there, minimize the knocks by engaging a person, a coach, or someone who is an expert in that industry or whom you look up to, and then eventually you'll be at the top. It will be just a matter of time. If you establish proper systems, you will definitely grow. You will definitely grow. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching through. You can always check us out at www.jonakiholdings.com, but you can also check out on YouTube, Jonan Kandwanaho, to watch the related videos on money lending and several other topics that I've talked about. And yeah, as I've already said, I look forward to meeting you at the top, because I know that if you implement some of these things, you will definitely get at the top. As I end this, I speak a blessing over you. I speak a blessing over the works of your hands, and I pray that your business grows to a higher heights. It employs as many people. It excels so that you can support many communities. You can support many livelihoods. As I've already said, if you're employing that staff has dependents, or is supporting several other people, is paying tuition for several other people. So in a way, you're employing more than one person in employing that, just one person that you're employing. You're employing several other people, perhaps 10 or 5. Whoever is a dependent on that person, you're actually supporting a lineage or a line of people. So that's why it's important that you get in that business, that you don't close that business, that you continue going. Just imagine the livelihoods that you're supporting and how they're going to thrive thereafter. So appreciate your time. Take that step of boldness, kick off the fear, and get moving. I love you guys. Thanks for watching through. As I've already said, if you watch and listen in and you don't implement, you're wasting your time, you're wasting my time, you're wasting your data. So go try out one thing, go and implement. I'll be the happiest. I want to send greetings to all the guys who have implemented a few things. There are some who have bumped into me and said, you know what, I registered my businesses because I heard from you, because of your talk. I did ABCD, and that fills my tank. I appreciate such feedback. So see you guys. God bless you. Enjoy your Friday and the rest of the weekend. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye for now. Blessings. Cheers.